My fellow citizens of Burkina Faso, brothers and sisters across Africa and the world, I stand before you today not just as a leader, but as a son of this soil, humbled and moved by the spirit you showed on April 30th. On that day, the streets of Ouagadougou and cities across our land echoed with the voices of a people who refuse to be silenced, a people who know their worth, and who have chosen dignity over dependency. Your presence was not just a march, it was a message to the world that Burkina Faso stands tall, unshaken by lies, unbent by foreign pressure. When accusations are made against us, when outsiders speak of our country as if they own its future, we respond not with fear, but with unity and pride. We are not puppets, we are not pawns, we are the architects of our own destiny. I heard your chants, long live Burkina Faso, hands off our country, support Captain Traoré. But this is not about me. This is about all of us. It is about a new era where our resources serve our people, where our alliances are chosen by our own hands, not imposed through threats or manipulation, where our sovereignty is not a negotiation, but a fact. I saw young people waving the flags of not only Burkina Faso, but also Mali, Niger, Ghana, Liberia. I saw solidarity across borders, from Africa to Europe to the Americas. To those who stood up in Accra, in Monrovia, in Paris, in New York, your voices have reached us. Your unity shows that this is not just about one country, it is about the rebirth of a continent long exploited, now rising. We have faced threats, we have faced misinformation, but our greatest weapon is the truth and the people who carry it forward. I thank you, the workers, the students, the farmers, the mothers, the soldiers, who show each day that this nation does not need to kneel to survive. We stand, we fight, and we build. We remember those who tried to divide us. We remember those who claimed our government was turning against its own people. But the truth is clear. This government, your government, was built to serve the people, not outside interests. We will not let lies distract us from our mission. We are rebuilding Burkina Faso from the ground up, with strength, with vision, and with honor. I speak today especially to the youth. You are the guardians of tomorrow. Do not let anyone convince you that your country is too poor, too small, or too weak to shape its own future. You have already proven that wrong. Keep building, keep learning, and keep believing. To our brave defenders at the front lines, protecting our land from terror and destabilization, we salute you. You are the shield of the nation. Your sacrifices are not forgotten, and we will continue to equip you, support you, and honor you in every way we can. We are not against the world. We are not at war with any people, but we demand respect. We demand partnership, not domination. We are open to dialogue, but we will never bow to pressure. The future of Burkina Faso will be decided in Ouagadougou, not in Washington, not in Paris, not in any foreign capital. We are writing a new chapter in our nation's history, one of self-reliance, courage, and continental unity. Let them say what they will, let them doubt us, let them threaten. But we will keep moving forward, together, proud and free. On April 30th, 2025, an extraordinary wave of patriotic energy surged through the streets of Ouagadougou and across other key cities in Burkina Faso and the broader Sahel region. In an unprecedented display of mass mobilization, tens of thousands of citizens came together in support of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the transitional president of Burkina Faso. This massive outpouring of solidarity was not just a political event, it was a declaration of collective identity, resilience, and the urgent desire for true sovereignty. The scale and passion of the protest signaled a major turning point in the nation's history, reaffirming that the people of Burkina Faso are no longer willing to be passive recipients of decisions made outside their borders. The demonstration was sparked by growing concerns over what many citizens perceive as repeated and deliberate attempts by foreign powers to influence or destabilize the country's transitional government. These concerns have been echoed by Traoré himself in recent months, especially in light of alleged foreign-backed plots to undermine the revolutionary process underway. As the protest unfolded, the atmosphere was charged with patriotic fervor. Flags of Burkina Faso waved through the air, alongside Pan-African symbols and slogans calling for dignity, freedom, and a break from neo-colonial control. Protesters, including students, market workers, farmers, veterans, and youth volunteers, stood shoulder to shoulder to demand that their country's future be decided within its own borders, by its own people. At the heart of this movement is a growing awareness among Burkinabé citizens of the long history of foreign involvement in their political affairs. From the assassination of revolutionary leader Thomas Sankara in 1987 to more recent economic and military interventions, many believe that external actors have consistently worked to suppress independent African governance. For this reason, the support for Captain Traoré is more than personal, it is symbolic. He represents, to many, a break from that legacy of subservience and a reawakening of the revolutionary ideals that Sankara once embodied. The April 30th mobilization also extended beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Solidarity protests took place in Mali and Niger, countries that are part of the newly formed Alliance of Sahel states. These demonstrations underscored a broader regional desire for self-determination and African unity. In these countries too, citizens are increasingly rejecting international interference and calling for a new model of governance that prioritizes local needs and values over foreign interests. The coordination of these protests across national boundaries shows that the call for sovereignty is not isolated. It is part of a wider continental shift. Captain Traoré's message to the crowd further galvanized support. He thanked the people for their loyalty and courage, reiterating that the fight for sovereignty is not only political, but moral and generational. He emphasized that Burkina Faso must control its own natural resources, especially gold, which has often been exploited by multinational companies with little benefit to local communities. He also criticized institutions and foreign military structures that have failed to bring security and prosperity, calling instead for a pan-African approach to defense, economic development, and political integrity. The presence of young people at the forefront of the demonstration was particularly striking. Youth groups carried banners declaring their commitment to defend the transition and resist any attempt to derail it. Many voiced their belief that what is at stake is not just the future of Burkina Faso, but the future of Africa itself. Their energy and determination gave the protest a forward-looking spirit, suggesting that this generation is ready to take responsibility for reshaping the nation's destiny. It is also important to note that the mobilization was largely peaceful and organized, with volunteers and local leaders coordinating the crowds and ensuring that the event remained focused on its message. Religious and traditional leaders also played a role, blessing the movement and calling for continued unity among Burkinabé citizens. Their participation showed that the push for sovereignty is not only a political cause, but a cultural and spiritual one as well. In the days following the protest, many commentators described the April 30th event as a watershed moment in the nation's democratic evolution. Some have called it a second revolution, following in the footsteps of the popular movements of the 1980s. Whether that label holds or not, one thing is certain: the people of Burkina Faso have spoken, loudly and clearly. They are demanding respect, autonomy, and a leadership that reflects their aspirations, not those imposed by foreign interests. Ultimately, the mass mobilization for sovereignty was not just a protest, it was a collective affirmation of dignity. It was a reminder to the world that the people of Burkina Faso, and of Africa more broadly, are rising to reclaim their narrative. With unity, courage, and vision, they are moving toward a future built on self-reliance, regional solidarity, and a renewed sense of national pride. The large-scale protest that erupted on April 30th, 2025, in Burkina Faso was not merely a demonstration of public support for a leader. It was a loud and unmistakable rejection of what many in the country perceive as persistent and unwelcome interference from foreign powers in the domestic affairs of a sovereign African state. At the center of this movement was the message that Burkina Faso will no longer be a pawn in the strategic games of foreign interests. The people, inspired and emboldened by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, rose to their feet in defense of national dignity and independence. The protest was a statement to the world. Burkina Faso's transition will be decided by Burkinabéans alone, and no imperialist agenda will dictate the country's future. The sense of urgency that brought tens of thousands to the streets stemmed from growing frustration with repeated instances of external pressure, including from Western military institutions, financial powers, and foreign diplomatic missions. Many protesters believe these actors have, over the years, undermined Burkina Faso's right to self-govern, often cloaked behind humanitarian aid, counter-terrorism assistance, or development loans. The people have seen how these relationships have largely failed to deliver peace or economic justice, while conveniently allowing foreign entities to benefit from the country's resources and geopolitical positioning. This discontent reached a boiling point following public revelations and speculation about an alleged coup plot said to be supported or encouraged by foreign agents. While the full details remain sensitive and undisclosed, the mere suggestion that external actors might be involved in destabilizing the transition government was enough to ignite widespread anger. To many, this was not a new pattern, but the continuation of a strategy used repeatedly across the continent, undermining African governments that dare to challenge the status quo or assert control over their own political and economic systems. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, in his message to the public, did not hold back. He condemned what he called foreign manipulation, stating that no one outside the borders of Burkina Faso has the moral authority to shape the nation's political destiny. He reminded citizens of the importance of vigilance and unity, stressing that the nation is at a critical juncture where the success or failure of the transition depends on whether the people can stand together against pressure, both internal and external. His words resonated deeply, particularly with the youth and civil society groups, many of whom view Traoré not simply as a president, but as a symbol of resistance against neo-colonial domination. The rejection of external influence also extended to economic policy. Protesters and speakers at the event criticized the role of international financial institutions, whose loans and conditionalities have, in their view, kept Burkina Faso trapped in cycles of dependency and underdevelopment. They called for new economic models rooted in self-reliance and regional cooperation, particularly through the alliance of Sahel states, which includes Mali and Niger. These countries, like Burkina Faso, are undergoing profound political transitions and share a common aspiration to free themselves from the constraints of the old global order. Importantly, the protest was not marked by chaos or lawlessness. It was an organized, peaceful demonstration of popular will. It featured speeches, chants, cultural performances, and symbolic acts such as the burning of foreign flags and effigies representing neo-colonial power structures. While such imagery may be controversial, it reflected the deep anger and emotional intensity behind the movement. For many, these were not mere theatrics, but acts of liberation, visual and public rejections of decades of foreign control and humiliation. Women and youth played a leading role in the mobilization. Their participation sent a powerful message that the fight for sovereignty is not confined to military or political elites, but is a grassroots movement involving every segment of society. Women's associations, student unions, labor groups, and rural farmers all contributed their voices to the protest, adding legitimacy and diversity to its core message. Their presence underscored that this is a people's struggle, not one centered on any single leader, but on collective liberation. In the days that followed, the protest sparked conversations across the region and the African continent at large. From Dakar to Bamako to Niamey, voices of solidarity emerged, echoing the rejection of imperialist policies and calling for African unity. Media outlets and civil society organizations began to publish editorials and reports analyzing the protest's implications, highlighting the growing demand for a new geopolitical arrangement, one where Africa is not dictated to, but decides its own course. The protest of April 30th will likely be remembered as a pivotal moment in Burkina Faso's transition. It clarified the stakes of the struggle, identified the sources of external pressure, and unified the people around a common vision. Most of all, it sent a clear signal to the world: the age of silent submission is over. Burkina Faso is choosing its own future, free from foreign dominance, and in doing so, it is inspiring others to follow. In a charged political atmosphere defined by renewed calls for sovereignty and deep mistrust of foreign interference, Captain Ibrahim Traoré addressed the people of Burkina Faso with a clear and forceful message. Any attempt to subvert the nation's democratic transition would be fiercely resisted. This statement came in the context of a recently exposed plot to overthrow the transitional government, a plan that, according to Traoré and several internal reports, bore the fingerprints of foreign backing. Though details of the plot remain classified, the public reaction has been one of outrage and vigilance. Traoré's condemnation of the alleged coup attempt struck a powerful chord with citizens who have grown weary of external influence and the long history of destabilization efforts against African-led governments pursuing independence from Western agendas. Traoré's statement was not just a warning to would-be plotters. It was a declaration of resolve aimed at both internal and external actors who may have underestimated the current leadership's commitment to change. He emphasized that the transitional government was established through a national consensus born out of crisis, and that any attempt to destabilize it, whether from within or from abroad, would not only be illegitimate, but would be treated as an act of aggression against the Burkinabé people themselves. For many in the country, the reference to the coup plot brought back painful memories of past betrayals, especially the 1987 assassination of Captain Thomas Sankara, widely believed to have involved foreign complicity. The echo of that event still haunts the national consciousness, and Traoré's government is determined to avoid a similar fate. Reports surrounding the foiled plot suggested that several individuals, some within the security apparatus and others with alleged ties to foreign intelligence services or corporate interests, were implicated in an attempt to disrupt the transition. The government's swift and quiet handling of the matter was seen by many as both prudent and necessary. It avoided panic, preserved institutional stability, and sent a clear message to the international community. Burkina Faso is no longer a passive ground for covert operations, regime change strategies, or political engineering from abroad. Public support for Traoré surged in the aftermath of the revelation. Demonstrations in Ouagadougou and other cities showed a population not only alert to the threat of foreign interference, but also fiercely protective of the country's current leadership and direction. Civil society groups, youth organizations, religious leaders, and even some opposition figures expressed solidarity with the transitional government. They reiterated that political power in Burkina Faso must be rooted in the will of the people, not in the boardrooms of foreign capitals or the agendas of outside military alliances. Traoré's response to the alleged coup attempt also reflected a broader strategy of breaking with the historical dependency on foreign powers, especially those with a long-standing presence in the region. He pointed out that efforts to reclaim control over Burkina Faso's natural resources, military strategy, and political decision-making have made the country a target for subversion. According to him, those benefiting from past arrangements, where local elites partnered with foreign interests to exploit national wealth, are now reacting with desperation as they lose their influence. The coup plot, in this view, was not just a political maneuver, but a reactionary strike against a deeper process of liberation. In his speech, Traoré called on citizens to remain vigilant, organized, and united. He underscored that the struggle is not merely about resisting a single plot, but about safeguarding a larger vision for Burkina Faso, one that includes self-determination, economic independence, regional solidarity through the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, and the reassertion of African values in governance. This moment, he stressed, should not be seen as a setback, but as proof that the transition is making real progress. If enemies of reform are willing to resort to such drastic measures, it is because the movement for sovereignty is succeeding. What emerged in the wake of the speech was a nationwide conversation about national security, political loyalty, and the role of foreign actors in African democracies. Educational institutions, radio programs, and social media platforms buzzed with debate and discussion. For many young Burkinabé, the coup plot served as a sobering reminder that their future is not guaranteed, that the forces of imperialism, both subtle and overt, remain active and dangerous. Yet it also reinforced a sense of purpose. Youth groups began organizing neighborhood watch programs, civil society launched campaigns promoting political awareness and constitutional education, and community leaders urged people to deepen their involvement in civic life. Traoré's defiance in the face of the alleged plot has reinforced his image as a committed nationalist and a protector of the revolutionary ideals laid out decades ago by Thomas Sankara. While challenges remain, economic hardship, security threats, and political polarization among them, the unity shown in response to this crisis has become a defining moment in Burkina Faso's modern history. It marks a clear line: the era of foreign-dominated politics is over, and any attempt to drag the country back into that past will meet not only resistance, but a people ready to defend their sovereignty at all costs. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso's future is rooted deeply in the principles of self-reliance and national empowerment. In his recent speech addressing the nation amid growing political and economic challenges, Traoré laid out a comprehensive commitment to harnessing the country's own resources to fuel sustainable development. This vision reflects a decisive shift away from dependency on foreign aid, loans, and conditionalities, which have historically constrained Burkina Faso's ability to chart an independent course. Instead, Traoré emphasized the importance of investing in critical domestic sectors, education, agriculture, and health, as pillars for long-term prosperity and social stability. For decades, Burkina Faso, like many countries in the Sahel and broader African continent, has grappled with the heavy burden of external debt and the strings attached to international financial assistance. Foreign loans often come with conditions that dictate economic policy, structural reforms, and governance models, frequently prioritizing the interest of lenders over the needs of local populations. Traoré's speech was a call to break free from this cycle of dependency and to rebuild the nation's foundations from within, using its own natural wealth and human capital as the primary engines of growth. Central to this approach is the management and reinvestment of Burkina Faso's natural resources, particularly its vast mineral wealth and agricultural potential. Traoré pointed out that these resources, long exploited by foreign companies and external powers, must serve the Burkinabé people first. The government strategy involves increasing state control and oversight over resource extraction, ensuring that revenues are transparently collected and channeled into public goods. This means funding schools, clinics, rural development projects, and agricultural programs that directly benefit the majority of the population, many of whom live in rural areas and rely on farming for their livelihoods. Education was highlighted as a key priority. Traoré's vision includes expanding access to quality education at all levels, investing in teacher training, infrastructure, and learning materials. He stressed that education is not just a tool for personal advancement, but a vital national resource that will enable Burkina Faso's youth to become active contributors to the country's development. By fostering skills in science, technology, agriculture, and entrepreneurship, the government hopes to cultivate a generation capable of innovating and leading without dependence on external expertise or guidance. Agriculture, employing the bulk of the population, also figures prominently in Traoré's development plan. The speech underscored the need to modernize farming practices, improve irrigation systems, and provide farmers with better access to credit, markets, and technology. Self-reliance in food production is a crucial goal, as Burkina Faso and its Sahel neighbors have been severely impacted by climate change, food insecurity, and fluctuating global markets. By strengthening agricultural resilience and productivity, the government aims to reduce import dependency and create sustainable livelihoods for rural communities. Healthcare, another foundational sector, received significant attention in Traoré's address. The vision involves expanding health infrastructure, increasing availability of medicines, and improving maternal and child health services. The COVID-19 pandemic and ongoing regional conflicts have highlighted the vulnerabilities in Burkina Faso's health system, making investment in this area all the more urgent. Traoré emphasized that a healthy population is essential for economic growth and social cohesion, and that health services must be accessible to all citizens, regardless of geographic location or income level. Crucially, Traoré's commitment to self-reliance rejects the notion that development must be dictated by external actors or conditional aid packages. He made clear that while international cooperation remains important, it should be based on mutual respect and equality rather than dependency. Foreign investment and assistance, in his view, must align with Burkina Faso's national priorities and sovereignty, not undermine them. This stance has been welcomed by many citizens and civil society groups who see it as a pathway toward dignity and true independence. The speech also addressed economic diversification beyond the traditional reliance on mining and agriculture. Traoré spoke about nurturing local industries, promoting small and medium enterprises, and supporting innovation. Encouraging entrepreneurship, especially among youth and women, is part of a broader plan to create jobs and reduce poverty. By cultivating a vibrant domestic economy, Burkina Faso can build resilience against external shocks and foster more inclusive growth. Furthermore, Traoré's vision extends to regional collaboration within the Alliance of Sahel states, emphasizing that self-reliance is not isolation, but strategic partnership. Through cooperation with neighboring countries like Mali and Niger, Burkina Faso aims to share resources, knowledge, and security efforts to strengthen the entire Sahel region. This regional solidarity reflects an understanding that collective self-reliance is critical in addressing common challenges such as terrorism, climate change, and economic instability. The President's address inspired renewed hope among many Burkinabé especially the youth and rural populations who have long felt marginalized by top-down development approaches and foreign interference. By prioritizing education, agriculture, and health as cornerstones of internal development, Traoré's vision proposes a fundamentally different model, one that puts people's welfare at the center, respects national sovereignty, and builds capacity from within. In summary, Captain Ibrahim Traoré's speech outlined a bold and transformative vision for Burkina Faso, anchored in self-reliance and the strategic use of national resources. Rejecting the cycle of foreign dependence, the government aims to invest in critical sectors that directly impact the lives of its citizens, fostering a sustainable and inclusive development path. This vision not only seeks to empower Burkina Faso internally, but also to position the country as a leader in regional cooperation and African autonomy. It is a call to reclaim agency, dignity, and prosperity through unity, determination, and self-sufficiency. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's recent speech underscored a vital pillar of Burkina Faso's foreign and security policy, deepening solidarity within the alliance of Sahel states, a strategic partnership between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. This alliance represents more than just a diplomatic or military agreement. It embodies a shared vision of African-led cooperation aimed at confronting common challenges and resisting the persistent pressures of neocolonialism. Traoré's reaffirmation of Burkina Faso's commitment to the AES highlights a collective determination among these Sahelian nations to forge a path defined by sovereignty, mutual respect, and regional stability. The AES, formed amid growing insecurity and political transitions in the Sahel region, is an innovative response to threats that transcend national borders: terrorism, organized crime, economic instability, and external interference. Traoré emphasized that no single country in the Sahel can effectively confront these challenges alone. It is through unified efforts, sharing resources, intelligence, and strategic planning that these nations can build resilience. The alliance is grounded in a spirit of solidarity that recognizes the interconnected fates of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. As Traoré stated, our strength lies in our unity, and our future depends on our ability to cooperate as equals without the strings attached by foreign powers. This message comes in sharp contrast to decades of foreign military presence and fragmented interventions in the Sahel, often led or heavily influenced by Western powers under the banner of counterterrorism. While these external operations have had mixed results, they have frequently been accompanied by accusations of neo-imperial ambitions, resource extraction, and disrespect for the sovereignty of local governments. Traoré and his AES partners are clear in their critique of these approaches, arguing that solutions to Sahelian problems must be African-led, African-owned, and African-managed. Within this framework, the AES prioritizes self-determination and regional agency. Traoré reaffirmed that Burkina Faso stands shoulder to shoulder with Mali and Niger, not only in military cooperation but in broader policy coordination. This includes joint efforts to secure borders, share intelligence, coordinate economic development initiatives, and advocate for greater African representation in international forums. The alliance serves as a platform to challenge external narratives that often portray Sahelian countries as helpless or incapable, instead highlighting their capacity for leadership and innovation in addressing their own security and development issues. The political significance of this solidarity cannot be overstated. All three countries have experienced recent political upheavals and transitions, with military-led governments taking power in the wake of popular dissatisfaction with previous administrations. These transitions have often been met with skepticism or outright hostility by Western governments, sometimes resulting in sanctions or reductions in aid. Traoré's speech implicitly rejects this external judgment, positioning the AES as a bloc that will define its own path and set its own terms. The alliance is a statement of political autonomy, rejecting conditionalities that undermine national sovereignty. Economic cooperation is another key element of the AES that Traoré highlighted. He pointed to opportunities for shared infrastructure projects, coordinated agricultural programs, and regional trade initiatives designed to reduce dependence on external economies. By fostering economic integration within the Sahel, the AES members aim to create a more stable and prosperous region that can better withstand global market fluctuations and external economic pressures. This approach aligns with broader continental efforts, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, reinforcing the idea that economic independence and regional unity go hand in hand. Security cooperation under the AES is particularly critical, given the ongoing threats from extremist groups that operate across porous borders. Traoré stressed that the alliance enables member states to pool military resources, conduct joint operations, and improve communication among their defense forces. This coordinated approach not only enhances operational effectiveness, but also signals to adversaries that the Sahel is united in its resolve. The AES's emphasis on African solutions to African problems challenges narratives that have long justified foreign military intervention under the guise of protecting Sahelian states. Beyond military and economic dimensions, the AES fosters cultural and social exchanges that strengthen ties among the peoples of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Traoré spoke of shared histories, languages, and traditions that form the social fabric binding these nations. He argued that this cultural solidarity is essential to building trust and cooperation, which are foundational for sustained regional integration. These connections help to humanize diplomatic and strategic relations, making the alliance resilient to political changes and external manipulation. Traoré also called on other African nations to observe and learn from the AES model. He urged greater continental solidarity in resisting neocolonial tactics and fostering genuine partnerships based on equality. The AES, in his view, is a beacon of what African unity can achieve when it is grounded in respect for sovereignty, shared interests, and collective security. This vision resonates with the broader Pan-African ideals championed by leaders like Thomas Sankara, whose legacy continues to inspire the current generation of Sahelian leaders. While the AES faces significant challenges, including limited resources, complex security threats, and ongoing political volatility, Traoré's reaffirmation of Burkina Faso's commitment signals a determination to persevere. The alliance is seen as a critical tool for breaking the cycle of foreign dependency and fostering an autonomous regional order. By pooling their strengths and aligning their goals, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger are positioning themselves not just as partners, but as architects of a new chapter in African sovereignty and self-determination. In conclusion, Captain Ibrahim Traoré's speech highlighted the central role of the Alliance of Sahel States in Burkina Faso's strategy for national and regional resilience. By reaffirming solidarity with Mali and Niger, Traoré emphasized African-led cooperation as essential to resisting neocolonial tactics and achieving sustainable peace and development. The AES stands as a powerful example of unity and autonomy in a region too often fragmented by external interests. Traoré's vision offers hope that through partnership and shared resolve, the Sahel can forge a future defined by self-reliance, dignity, and collective strength.